Okay, I was watching my video of Deception Pass that I posted this last week, and I realized I kind of skimmed over a really important part, considering that I called it my 2021 photo bucket list, but I didn't really go into what that is, or like why I'm doing that, or why that's important, and also more importantly, why am I doing that right now? So to kind of give a little bit of background, I've been a photographer slash, I don't know if I'd really call myself a photographer. I've been really interested in photography since I was probably about a junior in high school. I had a bunch of friends that were super into it. I had some family members that were into it. And so for my junior summer, I ended up getting my first camera. And since then, I've just kind of loved it as a hobby and have like constantly watched videos. But I've always been more of a gearhead than like a photography enthusiast. Like there's a lot of people out there that they look at photography and they look at it as art, and they're very creative with it, and they do a lot of really interesting things with it. While it's like, I look at it more from like a technical aspect. Like I follow the rules of photography more than breaking the rules to be creative and express myself. It's more of just, I've always used it as an excuse to go out and do things. So I didn't start actually getting into hiking and being outdoors until after I got a camera. And part of that is because I liked using the camera to capture that experience, and it kind of forced me to go out and do these things. So, you know, fast forward junior year, now I'm a couple years out of college, and I have kind of wavered off of that, but my spending on camera gear has still kind of like increased. So like I have continued to buy equipment and continue to build like a camera arsenal, or like continued to upgrade. And I've still done like photo shoots, and I've done like a couple weddings here and there, and I've done some fun projects and whatnot, but I haven't been consistent with it, and I haven't really used it as much as I think I should if I'm to warrant buying the level of gear that I buy. So with that, I have obviously, like, the end goal was always, I wanted to buy enough camera equipment that I felt like I could take and capture enough content for my own personal use and just for my own enjoyment of traveling. Like I wanted to graduate college, get a big kid job, like love my career and grow in my career, but I also wanted to be able to spend money on camera gear and then be able to go travel and enjoy those times. So up until this point, I have done more of the buying of the camera gear than I have of the traveling. And right as COVID was hitting is when I was actually starting to get into traveling a little bit more and actually starting to do stuff. So the unfortunate part is obviously COVID kind of put that on pause. And so I haven't really had an opportunity to do that since, except I realized that that was me putting my own mental block in front of myself and stopping myself from going and doing it. Cause I kind of came to the realization, like, I live in the Pacific Northwest, which is arguably one of the most beautiful places in the world. Like obviously there's a lot of amazing things elsewhere, and I do want to go and experience those things, but me complaining that I can't travel and do things and capture beauty and like experience these things just because I'm stuck at home is really more of an excuse than anything. So for 2021, I'm usually not a big guy that likes to, or not usually a guy that's really big into New Year's resolutions and using the turning of the year as an excuse to set new goals for myself. I always am a firm believer of like, if you have a goal, then set the goal. Like you don't need to wait for a time, you don't need to wait for something to do it. But this revelation kind of came across with 2021. So it was kind of in perfect lockstep for timing. So what I decided is, since the realistic, like, and obviously things could change, since realistically I am likely to still be in Washington for almost all of 2021, depending on how safe it is to go elsewhere and whatnot, I might as well take advantage of it and not really hold myself back. So for 2021, I went and I found a blog of 21 of the most beautifully photogenic places here in Washington. I made that list in an Excel sheet, well, technically a Google sheet. I added the directions and the distance from my house to all of them, and I'm starting to systematically plan on going and visiting each of these places. So the last video, Deception Past, was the first place on the list, and part of that is there's not an order to the list for me. It's more of just what do I feel like doing at that time, and what do I feel like will get the best photo for me. So last week was the first week of the 2021 bucket list, including 21 different photo spots that I'm planning on traveling all across Washington to go and do. That being said, outside of that list, I've even asked some of my friends and family and some of the people I know on social media to also give me suggestions for where I should be going. And so obviously there's only 52 weeks in a year. I have 21 spots. I still have a lot of extra, and I'm not planning on doing it necessarily every week, but every other week, every third week, and it really depends. But so I'm planning on going through that full 21 list, and then I'm planning on adding a lot of extra things. And I might even go back multiple times to a couple of them if I end up really liking them, or if I have an opportunity to safely go with a friend or a family member. But yeah, so right now, the context that I felt like my last video was missing is that the 2021 21 photo bucket list is a list of 21 spots in Washington that I intend on visiting and trying to capture at least one, to me, one memorable and amazing photo that will mean something to me. That's what that is. I hope that anybody that's watching this is able to continue to follow that journey and just kind of enjoy some of the simple beauties that we have here, whether that be the mountains or the coast or the rivers or the waterfalls, or even if I go into the east side, maybe some of the kind of more farmland desert area. But either way, we live in a beautiful spot, and I'm really excited to go explore it. So here's to hopefully a better 2021 than 2020, and I'm gonna do my best to make the most of it. Good morning. I hope that was pretty helpful in terms of context as to like why I'm doing this photo bucket list. And with that, actually, today's hike number 2, we're going to be heading up to Mount Rainier National Park, which is a little bit south of where we're currently at in Seattle. I'm bringing my older sister along. We're going to have a fun time. However, we may not actually even get to our end destination. Today, it's supposed to snow pretty heavily. So fingers crossed that they even let us in. But if we do get in, it's going to be a really fun time. The end goal and the end photo that I have in mind here is I would love a good photo of Mount Rainier, and if that's covered in snow and if that is inclement weather and whatever, that's the end goal, is to try to get some interesting shot of Mount Rainier. This is absolutely insane. So we may have struggled a bit to find a hike that we could actually go down, because Mount Rainier National Park was actually closed, but not for the reason we thought. It was supposed to be super snowy, and ended up being avalanche danger that closed it. So we looked around, tried to find a hike, and we've kind of given up on the hike, but we did find this awesome lake. So we're at this point just kind of hanging out, enjoying the view, and you know, just exploring a little bit before we decide to head back. so I think we're pretty much done here for the day. Obviously we couldn't get into Mount Rainier National Park, and it may not have been the photo that I expected to get, but I did get a photo that I'm very excited about. And regardless, it was fun being out here today and having a good time. My sister likes throwing the rocks. You never quite grow out of that. But yeah, so we had a blast. We're gonna start heading back to Seattle, but since I didn't get technically a photo of Mount Rainier, which is what the bucket list was, that just means that I'll be back here sometime in the spring or summer when it's a little bit warmer and we may not be running into avalanche danger. So super excited, super grateful to be out here today, and we'll see you in the next one.